this evening, joined by State Meteorologist Will Langston, who will be available to answer some questions in a few minutes if you have any for us. I want to start off by just reminding you some of the talking points we had yesterday. GEMA Homeland Security, along with all other state agencies and the governor's office, have been monitoring Hurricane Helene's forecast and working with all our partners to ensure resources are available where needed. We have pre-positioned response teams and equipment to quickly address emergencies as they arise. Governor Kemp again issued a state of emergency for all 159 counties yesterday. The declaration makes state resources available to all local governments, and it authorizes motor carrier compliance to allow commercial motor vehicles who are in response to hurricane efforts bypass all way stations and inspections so that we can ensure a quick response with all emergency supplies. Governor Kemp has also requested a federal emergency declaration for the state of Georgia in anticipation of Hurricane Helene and the impact that it's going to have on our state. Governor Kemp's request has asked for immediate assistance for life-saving measures to protect property, public health and safety, and to lessen the threat of the catastrophe. The emergency declaration provides direct federal assistance to supplement response efforts due to emergency conditions resulting from Hurricane Helene. Our team has also put together requests. As I told you yesterday, EMAC request, or the Emergency Management Compact, will be reaching out. We've requested an additional fleet of generators from the state of New Jersey, and so we're appreciative of their response. We're also prepping what's called a state logistics staging area, where a lot of these resources will be more moved to middle Georgia to get to areas in South Georgia a lot faster once the storm has settled. The Department of Public Safety continues in collaboration to ensure routes are clear and that we're able to access all state roads as quickly as possible. If you've left a stranded vehicle on the side of the road, there's a good chance you won't find it when you get back. It will have been towed because we're clearing all emergency lanes and shoulders as well. The Department of Ag has opened up an animal shelter committed to assisting anybody who is having to evacuate. We're working with other possibilities to ensure all animals, equine, and any other animal or personal companion has a place to go. Also, tomorrow, beginning tomorrow, the Georgia DOD, or our National Guard partners, will activate 250 Guard men and women and stage them for rapid deployment with cut teams and transportation teams to move resources as needed around the state. I also like to thank our partners at DNR, Georgia Forestry Commission, and the DOC for their response. They've got cut teams that are ready, response teams, and swiftwater rescue teams prepared to deploy. A quick brief on the weather. As you know, Hurricane Helene is expected to rapidly intensify as it moves north through the Gulf. We just received a report, and one of the reasons we were late is now projected that it will make landfall as a Category 4 hurricane in the Appalachia Bay area tomorrow evening. Southwest and south central Georgia are under hurricane warnings and should expect hurricane conditions beginning tomorrow evening, lasting through Friday. Hurricane warnings with this latest update have been extended up to the Macon-Columbus line, so that's a little further in than we anticipated. And now tropical storm winds are expected to extend all the way through Georgia up to the Tennessee line and possibly further. We're still anticipating rain. As you see outside right now, we're getting rain in North Georgia. There was a wedge that moved in and a front that we were certainly hoping wasn't going to happen, but here we are. We'll deal with it as we come. But that's going to increase the significant risk for flash flooding in and around metro Atlanta and certainly most of North Georgia for Thursday and Friday. Heavy rainfall has already begun. 2 to 4 inches is expected to fall along metro Atlanta around the I-85 corridor. Heavy rain from Helene will move into South Georgia tomorrow morning and afternoon ahead of the core of the hurricane. Conditions in South Georgia will rapidly deteriorate early Thursday evening and will not begin to improve until sunrise Friday. Conditions in north and central Georgia later on Thursday will deteriorate and will not improve until late Friday morning. The remnants of Helene will exit North Georgia by early Friday. Now this timeline could pick up a little bit. The reports that we received this afternoon are that the forward progression now are 25 mile per hour plus. So that's much faster than we even anticipated yesterday. The fortunate news of that is that following most of these severe weather events, there's extremely good weather afterwards, so that should allow us to be able to get our responders out there to take a good report of what's been damaged and how we can respond moving forward. Preparedness. Georgians, right now, before this gets to you, make sure you're preparing your emergency or you're reviewing your emergency preparedness kits. This includes having a family emergency plan, readiness kits, securing your home against wind and water damage. As a reminder, once speeds get above 35 miles per hour, we can't get bucket trucks out, we can't get any of our first responders out, and we'll be unable to reach you due to the dangerous conditions. As I said yesterday, please make sure you have supplies that last 3 days. Stay safe and monitor the storm. One key takeaway I want you to have in this as you're looking through your kits to make sure you have your essential needs, your non-perishable foods, your medications. Go ahead and get your prescriptions filled, especially if you're close to empty. The Department of Public Health, in coordination with the Pharmacy Board, is getting approval to post Policy 14, which under a state of emergency allows the Board of Pharmacy to essentially allow an extension of prescriptions for up to 30 days for essential prescriptions, not to include narcotics, and or early fill those same prescriptions. So if you need to get to the pharmacy right now, the reality is a lot of our pharmacies are not going to have power, or they're not going to have accessibility over the next few days. So if you've got friends and family that need their medications, I would recommend you go ahead and make that trip now. Charge your mobile devices. Have a backup power source ready. In case of power outages, it's important to stay informed. We strongly advise the public to avoid non-essential travel as this storm approaches, and allow evacuation orders to proceed if you get one from a local authority. Please stay indoors. We encourage residents to turn on their weather alerts. Every family should have multiple methods of receiving severe weather alerts, including at least one audible alert that can wake you up. As we mentioned last night or yesterday and today, this is going to be a nighttime event, and so as it approaches your area, if you've gone to bed, make sure you have that phone on loud and those alerts on so that you can hear them. There are a lot of options to stay in touch. The NOAA weather radio, as we discussed yesterday. Your county alert systems. Some have indoor or outdoor sirens. Others utilize technology. So if you contact your local EM, they'll be able to let you know what type of warning system that particular county uses if you're unfamiliar. Your television stations, your local and national news. Stay in tune to your trusted sources, and thank y'all for being here to ensure that we can get this message out accurately and quickly. And then smartphone applications. There are numerous free and paid smartphone applications that have been created to notify you during these events. And finally, wireless emergency alerts, which are used by authorized state agencies that will be able to geolocate you. You don't have to sign up for these events. You don't have to have any type of application. They're just sent out on an individual basis need. Finally, as we remain poised and prepared to issue any orders or deploy resources as needed, we ask you to please pay attention to those requests. If we ask you to stay off the road, we need you to stay off that road. We've made recommendations to other state agencies in partnership with this. So before you go out Thursday or Friday, if you need assistance from any public entity, whether it be a county, a city, or a state facility, make sure you check in advance to see if they're open. Their facilities might be closed, their locations might be altered, it might be a virtual day, just simply because we're unable to get to those locations. And please continue to monitor developments from the National Hurricane Center and forecast updates from your local National Weather Service office and other reliable media outlets. And for more information, please visit our website, gema.georgia.gov. We have a page dedicated specifically to this event that will show you where shelter locations are. You can also follow us on our socials or any other state socials, obviously the governor's office and their socials. The governor's team has been very quick to echo any message we've gotten, or they're leading their own charge with a lot of their notices as well. So please make sure you go to those trusted sources, and we appreciate any time that you echo our message. It goes a long ways because you have those folks that trust and lean on you. And with that, we'll open it up to some questions.
Chris, and this actually may be a question for Will. It's supposed to come ashore Appalachian 4. What are we thinking when it hits Bainbridge and Cuthbert and Albany?
Well, like the director mentioned, with the increased forward speed, it was already expected to be moving in about 20 miles per hour forward motion. Now that's even increased, so it's just not going to have enough time to weaken a whole lot. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some Category 3 level impacts in extreme southern Georgia, southwest, south central Georgia, but I do expect that we will see widespread Category 1, Category 2 hurricane impacts all throughout the hurricane warning area, which, as the director mentioned, is now forecast all the way up through the Columbus-Macon area.
Director Stallings, with the change in kind of the timeline of all of this, what does the sense of urgency need to be from residents at this point?
To that timeline, I think if the further south you are, you've got less time. If you're in North Georgia right now, you're already getting rain. We had reports of a tornado that touched down in Habersham earlier from this particular event. We've already seen some power outages around the state. I think about 6,000 customers in Habersham right now. So we're really in a fight against two weather systems. And so we've got this cold front that's in now. The one good thing I asked earlier to one of the meteorologists in this storm system is we're not anticipating a lot of hail because it's a very warm water event coming from the south. But that timeline has been sped up for everybody. So it's essentially you've got tomorrow to prep. After tomorrow, you need to be able to shelter and hunker in place until it's passed. Because, again, it's at night. Anytime you're out at night, risks are difficult anyways. Visibility is down and those type things. So going out at night during the storm, even tomorrow afternoon, for those in far South Georgia, and those front line bands of rain, and Will could probably tell you a little bit more about that timeline. The timeline we've given you is the center of the storm and the immediate impacts. But there's a leading edge of rain that will be in and you might want to talk to that timeline because it is going to shorten it.
Sure. So, like the director mentioned, we're kind of dealing with two storm systems at the same time. One is already over us now. It's going to drop at least a few inches of rainfall around the metro Atlanta area up the I-85 corridor. And it's really going to prime the pump, so to speak, for the rain that's going to move in from Hurricane Helene tomorrow and Friday. Some of those leading bands of rain are going to start to move into southern Georgia as early as tomorrow afternoon and start to spread through north and central Georgia. I expect that we probably won't see those tropical storm force and hurricane force winds enter south Georgia until tomorrow evening. But we will see some of those leading rain bands move up throughout the afternoon and evening tomorrow. But yeah, the core of the system that with the heaviest impact hurricane force conditions is probably going to hold off in South Georgia until tomorrow evening and then move up kind of along this I-75 corridor overnight tomorrow night into early Friday morning.
Director Stallings, realistically, what do you expect the power outage impacts to be?
Significant. Probably one of our most significant events we've seen in a long time. Couple things we've got going against us. This particular cell we're sitting under right now is already going to saturate the ground. It's also going to prime and fill our creeks, streams, and rivers. So with that, there'll be a small lull, and then we'll get the winds. And those winds are going to be blowing against trees that are going to have either exposed roots or roots that are in saturated ground. They're not going to have the strength to hold like they normally would. So when those trees start to topple, they take lines down with them. And I think we're going to see some significant power outages, probably nothing like we've seen because it's 159 counties wide. I mean, some of the reports that we're seeing just for impact is, even in northeast Georgia, they're looking at a foot of rain. And so that's, we're not used to that, especially in the mountains. And so that's just going to be I don't want to put fear in some folks' voice. We're all concerned about the impacts, but there's the potential of even mudslides that the National Hurricane Center has been discussing in our mountainous areas, just because the ground is going to be so saturated. So the impacts that it's going to have on power outages, we've got teams coming in from all over. Georgia Power, our EMC partners, they've brought in a lot of resources. Of course, we'll get at it as fast as we can, but that's why we keep referencing the 72-hour window. You need to be self-sufficient. Traditionally, we've been able to bring our partners maybe from North Georgia into South Georgia to help, or from south to north. We're not really getting to move a lot of folks around simply because they're going to be affected all over the state. So we're leaning on a lot of exterior partners from other states that are coming in. So you'll see a lot of new faces out there, maybe some new state agencies out there, things like that. So, we anticipate a significant impact.
Director Stallings, can you talk about the cost as well? You mentioned that, and especially with the governor's federal assistance. Can you walk us through how much or what that can help out with?
It will provide resources instantly. So they're considered Category A and Category B. That's emergency life-saving. That's sheltering. That's preventing possible impacts. That's removing folks from home, transportation needs, and things like that. Again, that goes back to the cost. We have not seen, other than COVID, a recent event where 159 counties in Georgia have been impacted. Hurricane Debbie is going to probably be in the $60 or $70 million range so far, and it affected 30 counties with 8 of those receiving IA. So I'm not saying do the math and 5 times that is what we're expecting. I would just simply say this is a wide-scale event with significant implications.
Can you talk about what the impacts are going to be on air travel?
That is going to be certainly FCC and FAA, that's going to make those decisions. But I would fully anticipate it having significant impacts on flights in and out of Atlanta, Hartsfield, or any other here in the Southeast. Florida's going to be hit. We're going to be hit. Tennessee, so I would imagine Nashville, Memphis, any of those. Maybe Birmingham to our west, any of our connecting flights out of South Carolina. And, of course, that'll backflow all the connecting flights and in and out. So I would anticipate significant delays and or cancellations through the next couple days.
Can you talk about that state logistics staging area that you're moving to Middle Georgia? Where is it going to be and what kinds of things are going there right now?
Absolutely. So we have a facility at the Macon Farmers Market that is now ours. And so that's where we'll stage tarps, MREs, water. We'll have a lot of resources that will go out immediately. Sandbags. We'll also have generators. We'll have any other resource that the state brings to bear. And we'll also have, we use it as a place for us to send resources out, manpower as well. So it's a place that we can come in, feed our responders and things of that nature, prep them. They can come back if we're having issues getting our hands on fuel, which right now we don't see that being a problem. Certainly our partners at the convenience stores have made sure that those tanks are filled. It's extremely important for them to have full tanks so that this saturation doesn't cause those tanks to come up out of the ground. So we've been very forward-leaning to ensure we've got fuel around the state, but it's those type things that we have, and it's located there in Macon.
Question for Will. When is the last time we saw sustained tropical storm force winds in Metro Atlanta?
Irma was a similar event to this in 2017 in that it was a very wide wind field and it moved all the way up, and we saw major tree damage in all counties in Georgia. Other than that, Michael, we probably saw, if we didn't get that level, we saw close to it. It's definitely been several years, but it hasn't been recently.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. If you have any further questions, obviously you can reach out to Kristen and our external affairs team. I appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.